Can just 30 minutes change your entire life? From folding clothes in a Gucci store to flying in private jets, from a salesgirl to owning luxury brands, Georgina Rodríguez's story proves that one moment can rewrite your destiny. Georgina Rodríguez's life didn't begin with the glitter of red carpets or the sparkle of diamond jewelry. In fact, her early years were marked by shadows. Her family had brushes with crime, and her father struggled with addiction. Deep down, Georgina knew she wanted to escape that cycle, to carve out a life of dignity, hard work, and self-respect. So she started working at a young age, hustling her way through different jobs just to survive. That journey took a magical turn in 2016. At the time, Georgina was employed at a Gucci store in Madrid. Her routine was simple: finish her shift by 5 p.m. and head home. But fate rarely follows routine. On one particular evening, just as she was preparing to leave, her phone rang. It was a colleague, asking a favor. "Can you stay a little longer? A special client might visit the store." Reluctantly, Georgina agreed to stay back for another half an hour, unaware that this small decision would completely change her destiny. As the clock ticked closer to closing, she was just about to pack up when the glass doors of the Gucci store slid open. In walked none other than Cristiano Ronaldo, already a global superstar, accompanied by a friend and his little boy, Cristiano Jr. Ronaldo was there to buy a wallet, but destiny had much bigger plans. Before Ronaldo even spoke, his son, Jr., just 6 years old at the time, walked up and greeted Georgina with the innocence only a child could have. Jr., born in 2010, had always been a special part of Ronaldo's life. The footballer had full custody of him, though the identity of his mother has remained a closely guarded secret. Ronaldo, watching his son chat so openly, playfully teased him, turning the moment into light-hearted banter. And it was in that playful exchange between a father, his little boy, and a young sales assistant that the spark of conversation ignited between Cristiano and Georgina. He finally turned to her, flashing that unmistakable smile, and said he was looking for a wallet. And just like that, what started as an ordinary sale turned into the beginning of an extraordinary love story. In 2016, Georgina was just 21 or 22 years old, while Ronaldo, 9 years her senior, was around 30 or 31. After their first meeting at the Gucci store, a casual connection began to form. Whenever Ronaldo needed something from Gucci, he would reach out to Georgina. She was his go-to person at the store. Soon, a high-profile event was approaching, and Ronaldo needed certain luxury pieces. Naturally, he contacted Georgina. While discussing the details, he casually asked if she would accompany him to the event. That simple question turned into their very first date. Georgina attended the glamorous evening by Ronaldo's side, stepping into a world of cameras and flashing lights. But she couldn't stay long. Duty called. She had to rush off to attend a company dinner right after, slipping away from the spotlight as quickly as she had entered it. Back in 2003, when she was just 9 years old, her father was sent to prison for substance-related crimes. He was released for a few years, but trouble found him again, and he returned behind bars. With each passing year, his health declined in jail, and though Georgina's heart ached, she was powerless to change his fate. Ronaldo's early years carried a strikingly similar shadow. His father battled alcoholism, a struggle that turned him abusive when he drank. Ronaldo has openly shared that despite the chaos, his father deeply loved him and believed in his talent, but addiction slowly tore at the fabric of their family.
In the end, both Georgina and Ronaldo grew up in households scarred by their father's struggles. And in both cases, it was their mothers who became the true pillars of strength. Ronaldo's father passed away in 2005 when Ronaldo was just 21 years old. Years later, in 2019, Georgina too faced heartbreak when her father, still imprisoned and in poor health, passed away. Before Georgina entered his life, Ronaldo had been linked to many models and actresses. Yet most of those relationships burned out within months, often surrounded by speculation that he struggled with loyalty. The only romance that truly lasted was with Russian supermodel Irina Shayk. They met in 2010, got engaged the following year, and for 5 years they were one of the most high-profile couples in the world. But in 2015, the relationship ended, leaving Ronaldo single once again. It was about a year later, in 2016, that fate introduced him to Georgina. After their encounter at the Gucci store and their first event together, Ronaldo decided to take a step further. He asked her out on a proper dinner date. Georgina, who at the time was living in a modest apartment, said yes. That evening, Ronaldo arrived to pick her up in one of his luxury cars, a sight that was worlds apart from her humble surroundings. From there, the two headed to Ronaldo's home for dinner. From those early dinners, their relationship slowly blossomed into something real. Whenever Georgina's shift at the store stretched late into the night, Ronaldo would be there outside waiting to pick her up. Sometimes it was a Ferrari, sometimes a Lamborghini. After all, that was his normal. In an interview later, Ronaldo laughed about it, saying, "For me, it was nothing unusual. I only had luxury cars. But for Georgina and her colleagues, it must have looked strange to see me waiting outside in one of those." Their bond grew stronger, and soon they decided to do something playful and lighthearted, a trip to Disneyland. But there was a challenge. Ronaldo was simply too famous to blend into a crowd. So, to make the date work, his team helped him with a disguise. He wore a wig, wrapped a scarf around his neck, and covered himself in a long jacket. But fame has its way of breaking through. Fans began recognizing him despite the disguise, and before long, pictures of their Disneyland adventure found their way into the media. What began as secret meetings, like that playful trip to Disneyland, soon turned into a deeper bond that would shape both their lives forever. In June 2017, Ronaldo welcomed twins via surrogacy in the United States. Their biological mother was not Georgina, but during that very same period, Georgina herself was carrying Ronaldo's child. Just a few months later, in November 2017, their daughter, Alana Martina, was born, the first child they shared together. Their family kept growing. In 2021, Georgina became pregnant again, this time with twins, a boy and a girl. In April 2022, she gave birth. Their daughter, Bella Esmeralda, survived, and today is a lively 3-year-old. But their son, whom they had lovingly named Angel, did not make it. It was one of the darkest moments of their lives. Ronaldo later spoke about the pain, calling it the greatest sorrow a parent can endure. Shortly after, when he returned to the pitch, he dedicated a goal to Angel, a gesture that spoke volumes about his love as a father. In total, Ronaldo is a father of 5, and only 2 are with Georgina. But in truth, Georgina has become the mother figure for all of them. She raises them as her own, and together they are determined to give their children what they themselves missed in childhood. That is why, as parents, Ronaldo and Georgina put in extraordinary effort.
Even as their family grew, outside voices were never silent. For years, Georgina was often trolled and criticized. People would say, "It's been almost a decade together. They've built a family, yet Ronaldo hasn't proposed." Behind the glamour and luxury was a girl who had once dreamed of ballet, who once wanted to study fashion design, but her family's circumstances simply didn't allow it. Her father, once a footballer, had fallen into the world of crime, leaving Georgina to shoulder responsibilities from a very young age. As a teenager, she worked as a waitress in restaurants, earning just enough to support herself and help her family. Long before Ronaldo entered her life, Georgina had her own share of love and heartbreak. As a teenager, she fell in love with her high school classmate, a photographer named Domini Hernandez. It was young, intense love, the kind where both believed it might last forever. But life had other plans. Domini had to move away, and just like that, their relationship ended. Through those years, Georgina kept searching for stability. She worked wherever she could, sometimes in restaurants, sometimes in shops, constantly pushing herself forward. Her real passion, however, was always fashion. That love eventually led her to a job at the Gucci store in Madrid. And then came that day, the day that changed everything. If her colleague hadn't called, if she hadn't agreed to stay just 30 minutes longer, if she had walked out of the store at 5 p.m. sharp like usual, maybe she and Ronaldo would never have crossed paths. But fate was quietly aligning the pieces. That half hour became the doorway to a new life. Georgina has never hidden her past. She speaks openly about it. Even she begins her documentary with a powerful line. "This has been my journey, from working in a store to owning luxury brands." In that same documentary, Georgina recalls her very first visit to Ronaldo's home with a laugh. His mansion was so vast that she would sometimes lose her way, wandering from the living room just to reach the kitchen. Fast forward to a few years later, and it is Georgina herself who now takes charge of the interiors of Ronaldo's new home. Indeed, hers is a story of transformation, from hardship to luxury, from uncertainty to stability, and from a humble store employee to one of the most recognized women in the world. What do you think about Georgina's journey? So that's it for today's video. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit like and subscribe to the channel.